What is up, my friend? Hey, welcome to this episode of the Studio Sherpas podcast. I just realized I feel like we're like when I say it like that, you know where that came from, that sort of rhythm of me saying that is this is American Idol. Because that's what we used to watch that show a long time ago, and I would mimic Ryan Seacrest. So the Studio Sherpas podcast. That's really funny that I just realized that. Hey, so we talk a lot around here about not wanting to be salesy or feel like we're trying to convince people to hire us. We hope a lot of times that our work just sells itself. Our website is done in a way where people can come to it and be like, ah. But have you ever thought of your voice being one of your best sales tools? It might sound crazy or weird, but I promise this interview with Roger Love is going to inspire you to use your voice to create the influence and the income that you want. Roger talks about how you are not the voice that you were born with, which I feel like for a lot of people, not for me, I like the sound of my own voice. That sounds weird. And I'm sort of teasing, half teasing, kind of teasing. But seriously, like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate my voice. But there are things that you can do that and actually most people aren't annoyed by your voice. So just that actually probably is true. But there are things that you can do to actually make your voice better, to make it so like when you present or when you are with somebody, you sound confident, not overconfident. Again, like to really bring out your true personality with your voice. I think you're gonna get a lot from this episode. It's jam-packed with some, I just loved it. Roger is amazing. Don't forget to stick around until the end of the episode. There is an incentive that Roger has for us, and you're not going to want to miss it, especially if you like the episode. With that, let's dive in to this interview episode with Roger Love. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Studio Sherpas podcast. My name is Ryan Coral, and I'm super happy to be here, and I am so happy and honored. I know maybe you've heard me say that before. Maybe I always am. I think I probably always am, but this is a special episode with Roger Love. Roger is one of the world's leading authorities on voice. I did my some voice exercises before this show so that he can't judge me too hard, but we'll see how that goes. Roger has worked with Gwen Stefani, John Mayer, Selena Gomez, Anthony Robbins, Simon Sinek, Reese Witherspoon, Angelina Jolie, Bradley Cooper, Joaquin Phoenix. Need I go on? The list of people that this guy's worked with has been incredible. I first saw Roger or heard of this guy at the Kajabi conference, which you guys have heard me share, actually introduce some other people that I've met from that conference. And he brought this woman on stage, and the way that he worked with her on stage and her voice, it was one of the just most hilarious and amazing transformations in just her presence and how she spoke. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mind was blown. And I had reached out to Roger and just said, I would love to just spend more time knowing about you and whatever. And so I've gotten to take some of the courses that he offers, and it is my pleasure to have Roger Love on the show today. Roger, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful intro.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I'm thinking about, your pump you up video or whatever played before you came on stage at Kajabi, I was like, just even that alone, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's resume is incredible. So number one, just congratulations to you on really identifying something that, is inside of you that you've used to help so many people. That is something that I feel like so many people search a long time in their lives to figure out, like, what is that thing that I have to offer the world? And the fact that you were able to identify it, however that happened, and you have been able to help so many people, people that we've heard of, but I'm sure tons and tons of people that, people like me that nobody really knows. And, but for that person and that individual, what you do is amazing. So thank you and congratulations on your huge success. That is just awesome, awesome, awesome.
Thank you so much. Anyone that has a passion in life and is lucky enough to find it early on is a happy person. And early on, all I wanted to do was just sing. I found when I was a baby, really, as soon as I could make sounds, if ever I was sad or or feeling bad, I would just kind of bust out a tune and I would feel happy. And I didn't really understand the science behind that, why singing was making me happy, but I just love to sing. And so as I got older and I had the opportunity to really start to teach singers, my first day as a voice coach, I was the voice coach for the Beach Boys and for the Jacksons and Earth, Wind and Fire and these huge super groups. And literally I was thrown in, do it, with no background other than that I was trying to be a good singer myself. So I really worked with singers for 17 years before speakers like Tony Robbins and Reese Witherspoon and people like that started coming to me. And they said, we want you to work on our speaking voice. And I said, no, thank you. You have really nice hair and you're really tall, but that's not what I do. I'm a singing coach. And they would say like, oh, come on, give us a break. And eventually I would say yes, because of course these people were really interesting to say the least.
Yeah, right.
And so in order to work with speakers, I had to really create content that didn't exist. I had gotten very good at helping singers open up their mouths and then influence millions of people based on the sounds that were coming out. You go to a great concert and you're sitting in the audience and the singer makes you cry or makes you get up on the stage and jump up and down. And maybe you're not the get up on your seat and jump up and down kind of woo-woo person, but suddenly you're doing it and you're just so captivated in the emotion. So I figured if I could teach singers to do that, why couldn't I do the same thing for speakers? So literally 17 years into my career as a voice coach, I said, that's it. I'm going to be the greatest speaking voice coach I can be. And that's a whole passion and a whole direction in life that I didn't even see for the first 17 years of my career.
Yeah, that's incredible. It is fun how we sometimes find ourselves accidentally doing this thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something that I'm actually kind of good at it. And how in the heck did I get into this thing? How did this start? Tell me about one of your favorite moments in your career. What's been a highlight?
Wow, so many highlights. Every time somebody comes in, and whether they're special like you or whether they're special because people have seen them in movies or listened to them in records, anytime that I can make a sizable change, that's a miracle for me and a great day. I would say some of the highlights, or one in specific, is I worked really hard when I first started getting into kind of the film side of voice. Mm-hmm. And I literally had 3 weeks to get Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon ready to do the movie Walk the Line. And Joaquin Phoenix had never really sung before. I think he was mouthing the words to every happy birthday song he ever sang at any birthday party. So Reese had sung a little bit, but she sang everything up here as a little angelic choir girl. And so I had 3 weeks to turn him into Johnny Cash and turn her into kind of a June Carter Cash sound. And when I finished those 3 weeks of working every day on it, I was like, oh, it's just not good enough. I wish I would have had more time. It's not good enough, man. And then I went to see the movie at the premiere. I was looking, I went with Joaquin to the premiere, and I sat there and I watched the movie and I was like, wow, that is so good enough. That's great enough, as a matter of fact. So I like to work hard and I like to do great work. And every so often it exceeds what I even thought was possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I forgot you had mentioned working with those guys in that movie. I love that movie. And, as a testament, so many people are just like, oh my gosh, like he sounded just like Johnny Cash, like so good. And you would never have known. So good.
And I had the great opportunity of doing the same thing this past year with with Bradley Cooper because I did the movie A Star Is Born. And imagine him coming to me, not as a singer, but he has a musical ear.
Yeah.
He's a super smart guy and the hardest worker in all of the entertainment business. The guy can do anything. He could fly if he needs to fly. But he came to me and he said, Roger, I'm going to be doing a movie that I'm writing and directing and starring in and singing. And it just so happens that I'm singing along with Lady Gaga. And as if that wasn't enough of a challenge, we've decided we're going to do all of the songs live, not recording in the studio, not going back and editing and all of that. We're going to do them live. And I want to sound at least not embarrassing to be next to Lady Gaga. So that was a fantastic project. And that turned out, again, so much greater than my expectations. And it turned out up to the level of my hopes. He sounded amazing and all that. But like I said, I've taken the same ideas that I teach my singers, that they should be able to open up their mouths and move people emotionally, and spent the last 20 years of my life showing speakers, and not just professional speakers, because I think everyone's a professional speaker. When you open your mouth, if you're talking to your dog and the goal is to for the dog to stop eating your shoe, then you're a professional speaker and that dog is your audience. So we're all professional speakers, whether we have one person or whether we're speaking to thousands of people. And yet most people, when they open up their mouths to speak, the sound that comes out does anything but move people emotionally, get them excited, have them remember the things that they say, have them take action on it. You're trying to sell something, but you can't because the person has already fallen asleep. You're trying to create a relationship, but you can't because the person's already decided you're the most boring person on the planet. So literally, I have scientifically and emotionally figured out the ways people should speak in business and in their personal lives so that they move people emotionally, so that those people feel things and then remember what they said. And that's the way to create communication and relationships and successful businesses and partnerships and a great life.
Yeah, that's super good. I totally want to unpack that stuff. But before we get there, we talk about all your accolades and all, this long list of, success and people that through my days, I've had, even on this podcast, I've had people on where, I'm like nervous and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to, say something totally dumb. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? I'm shaking a little bit. Has there been somebody that you have met, an opportunity that you have had where you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said there. I can't believe I did that. Anything that you're willing to share with us?
I feel that way every day. I go from the assumption that everyone is smarter than I am and everyone knows things that I don't know. So along with being a great teacher, what makes me a great teacher is I'm a really good learner. So I'm here today to learn from you, Ryan, and I teach all day to learn from the students that come in. So I always just start every day with being grateful. Wow, I'm alive. I can have breakfast. Wow, I can go to the studio. And the rest of it is what can I learn so that I can be a greater teacher?
That's awesome. I love that. Really good. So let's dive in. Let's unpack. So, whether it's a client meeting, whether it's a phone call, it's you're at a networking meeting, so many people, I mean, I've been on the receiving end of somebody, telling me what they do or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wake me up. This is the most boring thing I've ever heard. And not that you can have probably the most boring job in the world or the most boring title in the world, but the way that you present it or the way that you speak it can actually make it sound like, oh wow, that sounds cool. Like, tell me more. So dive into this. How can we be more influential, those things?
Influential. You stumbling on that word allows me to stumble into the answer to that question, which is the first thing we have to remember is that the words don't matter that much. It doesn't make any difference whether you could say influential. What science has proven is that we think that if we had the right words to say, that we could create relationships, that we could do business deals, that if we're in the elevator and we got 4 floors to make a deal, or if we're in the studio and we got 10 minutes to make a deal, we think that if we had the right words to say, that we could convince other people of working with us, believing in us, funding our projects. But science proves that that's just the opposite. Here's how it works. The words you say actually matter quite the least, because here's how the brain works. When I speak to someone, sounds come out of my mouth, and then they're supposed to vibrate your body, physically vibrate your body. The sound travels out of my mouth on an airbed and then vibrates your body. Some of those sounds and vibrations go in your ears. The first part of the brain that they go to is called the amygdala. It's like this amazing personal assistant. And the job of the amygdala is to weed out everything that isn't emotional. So if the amygdala doesn't think it's emotional, it won't send it to the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that logically processes everything, that thinks about, why would I want to do business with you? Why would I want to reach my hand in my pocket and give you all the money I have to fund your company? But you can't get to that part of the brain unless you go through the amygdala. Well, the amygdala doesn't think words have anything to do with emotion. So if the amygdala hears, yeah, he's fine, then the amygdala says, whatever. But if the amygdala hears, he's fine, then the amygdala says, oh, there was a sound attached to that. The language of the amygdala is sound. So the only way you can actually get people to think about what you said, feel something about what you said, is to create the sounds that are emotional, that bypass the amygdala, get into the prefrontal cortex, and now you have a chance of actually having a real conversation where people are feeling and listening and remembering what you said. That's about as scientific as I'm ever going to get.
That's what I feel like this whole time that you're talking, and then I'm remembering at the conference, I probably had a smile on my face the entire time. You have like hacked science to make me like everything that you're saying. What the heck?
No wonder I got such a beautiful woman to marry me 29 years ago.
Oh, it's not the words. Yeah, that is brilliant.
It's not the words. The sounds that we make are what creates the emotions that people feel. And so we have to stop thinking and wasting all of our time figuring out the right words. And we have to know a handful of just sounds that we're making that's messing it up, and then a handful of sounds that we should be making so that we're building something up instead of messing it up.
Well, come on, give us those sounds. I want to know.
Okay, first of all, I want everyone to realize that, and I say this a lot, but I love this phrase, you are not the voice you were born with. Because people, as they get older, they open up their mouths and they start to speak and they say, well, that's me. Sound like I did yesterday. That's me. Yeah, maybe I'm nasal. Yeah, maybe I sound weak. Yeah, maybe I talk like a squeaky hinge. Yeah, maybe I just have all the horrible sounds that I don't have any power, but that's me. It's my parents' fault. And so then they go through life with this voice that they think they were born with. But the truth is, you were born with an instrument, but you can learn how to use that instrument to make whatever sounds you like and you don't like, and more importantly, what sounds other people are going to like when they hear you. When we grow up and we're learning mommy and daddy and apple and milk, what happens is we're not only learning the words, we're attaching those words to the sounds that our parents, or if you're lucky enough to have a nanny, that our nanny made for us, okay? So when my mommy speaks, and she speaks with this airy voice, and she says, I love you, Roger. You're so much more handsome than I thought you were going to be from the scan. And she talks all airy. And then so what do I want? I want to survive. I want that milk. I want to be snuggled as much as possible. So then as soon as I could speak, I'm like, Mommy? I speak airy. Mommy? Milk? now I speak airy because I think it connects me to people, and especially to her. If my dad talks like a teamster, "Ugh, my beer," ugh, and I want my dad to carry me around all day because I have decided not only do I don't want to be drinking, I want to be drinking milk all the time, but I don't want my feet to actually touch the ground yet. So if my dad talks like this, then I say to my dad, as soon as I can make sound, up, up, pick me up. Because I think that's the way he speaks. So we don't realize that that's how we learn the sounds. So if I would have grown up with Stevie Wonder, I'd be an amazing gospel singer. If I would have grown up with some country star as my dad or my mom, I would have grown up with a Nashville twang, and we'd be having this discussion, but every other word would be y'all. So we imitate the sounds that we make. All this stuff is true. That's why it's funny.
Right.
Right? It's not funny to be funny. All this stuff is totally true. And people are like, wow, that's so funny and true. So we imitate all the sounds we make. And now we're adults and we're still sounding like our mother or our father or anybody else that we listen to. And we think we're stuck there, but we're not stuck there.
Yes. No, it's good. When you had asked in the audience for anybody that had like high pitched nasally, and you brought that. Do you remember this woman?
I remember. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And everybody was just floored. She got up there and she was very brave to get up there and share her nasally voice with everybody. And you worked with her, and by the end, when she was speaking, it was like, oh my gosh, because you had said that, like, you're not the voice that you're born with, and you can learn and change. Because when people hear that, not everybody, but when a lot of people hear that pitch or that tone or whatever, like they're a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like, how long are we going to have to listen to this person? But when she was done, I actually heard her at another, like a breakout session later. She stood up and shared something, and she kind of made reference to, previous, but she was talking in that voice that you worked with her, and everybody was still like, oh my gosh, it is like, it was powerful. It was like people wanted to listen. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this lady's so annoying. So help us think through. I mean, there's probably so many different variations of voices, but like, what are the things that we can do? What should we, the person that's listening, what should that person do? And myself, I'm listening to sound
better,
to
sound better, and to choose the right sounds that you decide you were born with an instrument, and now this is the way you choose to play it. So, okay, I'm going to make it easy. I'll give you a few little tips that will make all the difference in the world. We were taught when we were little kids in school, we were given misinformation about what I call melody. And a lot of people understand what melody is if they listen to a song. The melody is how the pattern, whether it goes up and whether it goes down or whether it stays on the same note. And we were taught when we were in elementary school that whenever we speak, when we get to a comma or a period, we're supposed to go down. So we talk like this: see Spot run. Spot's got my ball. Let's get that ball away from Scott. Spot, I meant. So what happens is when you're speaking, we are taught that at the end, when we get to a comma or when we get to a period, we're supposed to go down. That the only time we're ever allowed to go up is when we have a question mark. You like dogs? You like chocolate? Your name is Roger? That you're allowed to go up when you have a question mark. Other than that, you're not. But can you imagine if somebody found Mozart in an alley and threw him up against the wall and said, yo, Mozart, you're only allowed to go down most of the time in all of your melodies. Well, then what happens is Mozart would be like, no thanks, and please let me go. So what's happened is when you go down, when melodies go down from higher notes to lower notes, it actually makes people feel sad. It's my birthday. Nobody brought me any presents. Ryan got me nothing. It's okay. So we've learned to speak in descending melodies, going from highs to lows. And what are we doing? Depressing the heck out of ourselves and anyone that's listening to us. We've got to stop doing descending melodies because we're making people sick, literally. They hear us, they get sad, they keep hearing us, and they eventually get sick. And then they can't wait to not hear us. So instead of using descending melodies, which 99% of the people do, you need to use ascending melodies, melodies that go up. I love my wife. I love chocolate. It's my birthday. Ryan, thanks for the present. This is fantastic. I want to be a Sherpa. So you have to go up and lose that ridiculous fear of, if I go up, I'll sound like everything's a question. That's stupidity. That's wives' tales, and you shouldn't even blame that on any wives. Okay, that's just tales. You need to learn to speak up, because when you use ascending melodies, when you go from low to high, it makes people happy. It's like this. If I say to you, do you want to go to the movies? Do you want to go to the movies? You're like, oh, no, that scares me. I don't like those kind of movies. And I can't bring my kid. But then if I say, do you want to go to the movies? You're like, oh, I love Disney. I'll bring my cousin. So melody, the pattern of notes, makes people feel emotions. Going down makes people sad. Melodies that go up make people happy. We could easily break that habit. You all have this amazing device. It's called a smartphone in your pocket. It has a recorder in it. You don't have to own a studio. It's a bonus if you happen to own a studio and you have a better microphone. End there, but start with your phone and start recording yourselves and just talk about what you're going to do during the day. I bet you'll notice how almost every sentence ends going down. So you stop that, and then people will listen to you and they'll think, wow, man, I don't understand it, but Ryan is really making me happy today. I thought Ryan was a downer the other day, but Ryan is such an upper. He's making me so happy just by going up. Okay, that's one hint. Ascending melodies.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So we do tons of interviews with business owners and whatever, and there are a couple of projects in particular that I can think and I can hear the answers, and it is, I don't know if is it called uptalk? Not what you're talking about, but when they were to answer questions, people will answer questions and it sounds like they're answering or asking a question in their answer. What's the like how to curb that so you're not actually sounding like you're asking?
You're a genius, Ryan. That's a wonderful question, because all those articles that say what I just said, you're not allowed to go up, most of those articles refer to that as uptalk. Here's the difference between uptalk and what I say, going to a higher note. When people do uptalk, they slide from a note to another note. So it's based on this whole concept of valley talk, which was actually coined by Frank Zappa's daughter, Moon Unit Zappa, who grew up in the San Fernando Valley, the other side of the hill from Beverly Hills. And she used to, when she spoke, scoop up. So it was like, you want to go? It's okay. I love my wife. Why do I have to live in the valley? That scoop. So it became this horrible regionalism where you scoop, and even some people in Australia do that, parts of Australia, because they're generally happy people and they like this idea of going up, but they also scoop. So watch, here's the difference between uptalk and scooping. I really like Wednesday. Or this is going from a note to a note directly. I really love Wednesday. I really love my wife. Question, bad, move to the valley. I really love my wife. So it's not ending on a high note that's bad. Those articles were written not by musicians, not by composers. They were written by people that didn't understand the difference between a scoop and a non-scoop. I love my wife. Amazing. You should stay married. I love my wife. No, you should stop scooping because it's driving her crazy.
That's worth the price of admission right there. I think that's really, really valuable. That's a good, I mean, not that I would be sitting across from somebody and be able to like tell them, okay, stop doing that and do this instead. That's probably not going to be able to happen. But I think one by one, if people can learn that, it will make all our interviews and voiceovers sound much better. So thank you for that.
Great. Here's another tip. We grow up, and if we're lucky enough to have parents, and if we're lucky enough to have multiple dinners and survive, sometimes at those dinners, if somebody's making too much noise, and it was usually me, my mother would say, Roger, use your inside voice. And then I would basically, not fully understanding what that meant, would eliminate all of my personality and be quiet. And I would just speak softer and with zero personality. So that was what I figured was my inside voice, because clearly my outside voice was too much for the table. So we've all had similar experiences like that, where we've either been told, shh, use your inside voice. But then here's here's the end result. I believe that adults, most of them, are somehow trapped in their inside voice. And that's the voice that comes out of their mouth almost the whole time that they speak, that they're not really using what I call the outside voice. Most people are trapped using the inside voice. Let me explain. You have an inside voice. That voice comes from your subconscious. So I wake up in the morning and I do not open my mouth, and my inside voice says to me, yo, Roger, I know you don't want to get up, but you've got to get up. And then I say to my inside voice, all still inside of my head, whoa, could I sleep another 10 minutes? And my inside voice says, no, you've got to get up right now. And so I get up. None of that sound comes out of my mouth. That's my inside voice. It should stay in there. Okay? But what happens is that people generally open up their mouths and they let those sounds come out. But what are those sounds? What are the sounds of inside voices? Soft, airy, no melody, because you're really kind of talking to yourself. So I'll be standing at the dry cleaners trying to pick up my suit, and the two people in front of me, they're talking to each other with their inside voice. And they're like, how's it going? It's good. How's your wife? It's fine. What are you excited about? Nothing. What are you doing today? Nothing. They're using this inside voice. I can't hear them. They're soft. There's no melody. There's no motion at all. So what I'm saying is we're supposed to open up our mouths, and enough sound is supposed to come out, like I said earlier, that you're supposed to vibrate other people's bodies. So I say to people, do you want to be a ventriloquist or the dummy? And they say, what? And I say, here's your two choices. The dummy's making no sound. The mouth's opening, no sound coming out, trying to survive as a dummy. The ventriloquist is hardly moving their mouth, but there's sound coming out. You need to let the sound come out of your body so that it can vibrate other people's. We don't normally speak loud enough. Yeah. People are whisperers. People are airy, mushy speakers. They don't speak loud enough. And it's not just because they were told, shh, and use your inside voice, but they don't speak loud enough to get my voice to vibrate your body. So then we're really not physically connected. I say we should speak as if people were 5 to 8 feet away from us, even if the microphone is right here, even if the microphone on the phone is right here. I don't speak like this. Here I'm doing a little interview with you today, Ryan. Got my little ball microphone, and I'm going to talk like this. I only have to get this loud because I'm so close to the ball. No, I put the ball there, and I fill up the room with my voice. I'm going 5 to 8 feet in front of me, and some of it is going into the microphone. And that's the way I speak. That's the way I speak with a mic. That's the way that I speak all the time. And what you'll realize is when you speak at that volume, people feel the sound. So what's the main reason people are afraid of getting louder? What do you think it is? Because people are definitely afraid of getting louder.
Yeah, disturbing the peace.
What do you think? What do you? If I speak really loudly to you, what emotion do you think I have?
Like you're mad at me. I'm getting
mad.
Getting in
the
trouble.
number one sound of being mad, the sounds of mad, are lots of volume.
Oh.
But there's other sounds of mad. The sounds of angry are bigger volume, monotone. Every word is exactly on the same note because you don't have time for a lot of melody. You're too mad for a melody. Every single word is the same note. Blah, 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 blah. Every single, I'm just mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. It's all on the same note. So monotone, no notes, just one, volume, and faster pace. Nobody gets mad and speaks slowly. So they speak really fast, they speak on the same note, and they get loud. So most people are afraid of getting loud because as soon as they get louder, people think they're mad at them, and nobody likes to be yelled at or other people to be mad at them. That's not a good feeling, to being on the receiving end of anger. So what do? Knowing that angry is the sound of more volume, monotone, and faster pace, I make sure when I get louder that I have a lot of melody, specifically ascending melodies going from low to high. I could create all the volume in the world, but as long as I had melody, Ryan, you would never think that I was mad at you. And I don't speed like a speed demon. So get louder, add melody, don't go faster, and people will all of a sudden feel more of your voice physically, and they'll be happier. It'll get into their brain better. And those are a couple of hints to start with that could make a huge difference. Speak louder and use more melody, because nobody hears you when you're using your inside voice.
And another tip there too, like if you have kids, you don't have to yell at them. You can do what I do and be like, "Don't you ever do that again!" Like you just do it real quiet.
I like that. You went to your movie trailer voice.
Yeah. One day, if you do that again,
from another planet. Do that if you want, but you won't survive. Tonight at 7, find out why. That trailer voice, movie trailer voice, which became very popular. But the truth is that it's true. I say this. One of the other problems is that we think we should only have one voice. So what happens is if I build this voice that works, me being a teacher / prophet during the day, thinking that I'm semi-omnipotent, all-knowing, all-powerful, and that I can create any miracles of voice, speaking and singing. Well, that voice is big and thick and strong, has a lot of arm movement and a lot of facial gestures. It's a kind of a big personality voice, and it works. If I take that voice out for a test drive back at home to my wife, and I walk in the door as prophet, she's like, "Yo, take the trash out. We don't really have a space or a tent here for prophets. And we don't have an omnipotent section at the house. So cool your jets, buddy." And so then I have a voice that I've worked up, which is totally authentic. I have an authentic husband voice if I've been married 29 years to the same woman.
Yeah.
So I have my voice changes when I speak with my wife. What's one of the main changes I make from voice teacher voice to husband voice? I have a lot more silent spaces at the commas. Tell me about your day. That sounds fantastic. Because I know my wife wants to talk to me.
This is good.
She doesn't want me to talk to her. She doesn't care how many students I saved. She She wants to talk. She has things to tell me.
Absolutely.
John Gray, my student John Gray, who wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the biggest selling book, I believe, in publishing history next to the Bible. He used to say to me, he used to say, Roger, here's exactly what women want to hear from you. Oh. That's it. They don't want to hear your words. They don't want you to fix stuff. Just shut up, make sounds that you hear them, and that's perfect. So we go through life and we're trying to use the same voice. You try to use your radio podcast voice, you go home, that doesn't work on your wife. That doesn't work on your kids. The voice I use for my wife, that doesn't work for my kids. If I use that voice for my kids, they'd play naked on the freeway all the time. Because that voice makes my wife realize that she can pretty much do anything she wants, but I don't want my kids to think they can pretty much do anything they want. So we need to create different voices. And you're like, Roger, I'm not an actor. I'm like, it's not acting. It's just being aware. It's so simple, little tiny changes that you make in your voice that allows you to be successful in all of the different aspects of your voice at life, so that in business meetings, you know how to sound, so that in personal relationships, you know how to sound. When you learn some really simple tricks, it makes all the difference in the world, because you adapt to that situation and then you can influence like you've never been able to influence before.
Yeah. That is a skill. Yeah, something to refine. As you're talking about, people, I was just thinking about people's personality, and like, if people have learned to use their inside voice and they're just, they're just afraid to feel loud, like, they used to get yelled at and they don't want to.
They're not loud enough. They don't have any melody.
Yeah, it would be amazing if people's personality, because people's personalities are probably just pushed down because they're not using their voice. If their voice could match like really who they really are, then it would be amazing, because you'd be able to get to know people quicker, better, in a more real, authentic way, versus like, wait, does this person, do they actually care? I can't tell, because
so smart. I say that people make value judgments about you within 2 or 3 seconds when they hear your voice, and those value judgments are usually totally incorrect because they don't know you. So I help people showcase the best of themselves. And the number one fear in America isn't shark bite, isn't hurricane, isn't famine. The number one fear in America, speaking in public. But here's why that fear is sort of ridiculous, but also justified. When you open up your mouth to speak, if people are going to judge you based on those sounds, they're going to decide, how old are you? How smart are you? How much money do you have? Why'd you pick that color shirt? If they're going to make all these ridiculous assumptions about you without even knowing you, your shirt's good. Yeah. So then the fear is they're not going to like me. They're not going to want to do business with me. They're not going to want to have a relationship with me. So the fear is real if people are judging us harshly because they don't get to know each other.
Yeah.
So what I'm happy about is I say I used to want to teach people to have great voices. And now I say that I want to use voice to help make great people. Because if you can open up your mouth and showcase the best of who you are, open up your mouth and showcase the best of who you are in seconds, then how much better is your life really going to be? How much better is it when everyone perceives you to be smart and funny and loving and caring and really feels all of the passions that you feel? And then how much better does that make you feel? Because sounding great and having other people perceive you for the best that you are also makes you feel great personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's all about. It's about making great people and showing people that they find their voice. When they find their voice, they find their self-confidence. They lose their fears. They lose their timidity. They then can step into business situations and personal relationships with more confidence because they've learned how to showcase the best of themselves, and people don't judge them harshly. People judge them positively.
That's great. I love that. Uh, Number one fear being, public speaking or whatever. Number two fear being having a world-renowned leader authority on voice on your podcast. So all you hear is voice.
It's so good that you're perfectly imperfect like me. And
So
I know how to listen. I know how to listen as a friend. I don't always listen as a voice coach.
Good. You're so gracious. One of the things that I was so happy to find out at the Kajabi conference was that you actually have courses on voice, and your team was super gracious to extend a discount on your Perfect Voice collection. Can you talk a little bit about what that is, like what people might be able to learn if they were to look into your courses?
Absolutely. Look, I love working one-on-one with people, but there's only so many hours in the day. And even if I give up sleep, there's only so many hours in the day and the night. So I'm always about I have this little goal. I'm trying to save the world one voice at a time. So in order to get to more people in the world, I make programs that really teach people and I guide them through step by step. So I've spent years, figuring out the most powerful information I could give people in the shortest period of time so that they're learning exactly what they need to start speaking better and hearing results immediately. And so the program that I'm going to suggest to your listeners is called my Perfect Voice Complete Collection. And it's absolutely the best way to get you from where your voice is now, not showcasing the best of who you are, what you're truly capable of, to get your voice to where people are loving it every time you open your mouth and they're moved by you emotionally and moved to take the action that you want them to take.
Yeah.
And it also has what I include as my daily warm-ups, which are exercises that you're going to do with your voice. Super fun. You don't have to be a singer. Super fun. You do these exercises 10 minutes, a few times a week, and literally your voice grows and it gets higher and lower and stronger, and it has melody and presence and tonality. And those exercises alone, aside from the tremendous amount of content that I have for you of learning, those exercises alone will give you the voice that you've been dreaming of, the voice that you didn't know that you needed, the voice that's going to make you more successful in business. So it's really, it's the perfect program for you. And my gift for Studio Sherpas is to take $50 off of my Perfect Voice Complete Collection. And that's good news because it's not expensive to begin with. So taking $50 is more than a gift. It's exactly what you need to own right now. But I want to invest in you as well, because you just sat through all of my stories of childhood stories to what I really feel about voice. So we'll take $50 off if you go to theperfectvoice.com, and when you add in, it'll say promo code. Type in the word Sherpa. Who would have guessed? Sherpa, SHERPA, and use all capitals because, if you're a Sherpa, you should probably have capitals anyways. And just enjoy the Perfect Voice collection and enjoy me investing in your future the way you should be investing in your future. So go to theperfectvoice.com, type in promo code Sherpa, and you're good to go. You're good to sound good.
Yeah, you're good to sound good. Appreciate that. That is great. Where can people find you and kind of keep up with what you got going on, Roger?
You should go to rogerlove.com. Rogerlove.com. We've got always tons of stuff happening, exciting, always something happening, exciting that we like to share. Next week, I'm going to Calgary, for example, and I'm going to be on stage with Tony Robbins and my student Tony Robbins and my student Rachel Hollis, and there'll be close to 8,000 people in the audience. So whenever I do these things, I learn from those things, and then I come back and I really help people learn the things that I've learned. Yeah. So although I'll be speaking for 8,000 people next week, today was amazing being with you. Way more important than 8,000 other people, and your Studio Sherpas. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. That's great. Is there a question that I didn't ask that you're just like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't tell Ryan this?
Oh no. You asked all the perfect the perfect questions, and but the answer is that you're not the voice you were born with, and it's about time that you stopped looking towards all the normal reasons why you're not succeeding in the things you want to succeed at, why your life isn't at the place that you really want, why you're not achieving the success that you want. And the last thing that you would ever think about is what's the reason, which is the question. What's the reason that I'm really not where I want to be? And if somebody said, hey, it's your voice, you'd be like, shut up. But the truth is, it's probably your voice. And if you haven't changed it, if you're still walking around like an out of tune instrument, wondering why nobody wants to sing along with your ideas in life, change your voice. So the answer to the question is change your voice and change your life. The question is, why the heck am I not happy and as successful as I want to be in life?
I love it. Roger, this was such a gift, man. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us. And this is going down as one of my favorite. I'm going to move the mic way back here and use my my 5 to 8
outside voice.
Thank you. Appreciate you a ton. Excited for just all the stuff, all the teaching, all the opportunities you're giving people to grow and to be different and really to be who they were created to be. So thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this episode with Roger Love. Wasn't he so good? He was so good. If you liked what he had to say and you are a little bit interested in his course, I do have an affiliate link that's inside of the show notes. And you can also use that $50 promo code. Go to the show notes at studiosherpas.com/136. The link is there. The promo code is there. Everything that you need is there, plus any other things that we talked about. You can find links for there. And if you love this episode, I would love for you to share it. And if you really love this show, then I would love for you to leave a review at the iTunes store. And you can just do that at the iTunes store. If you're using that to listen to this show, you can do that there. Would love that. I don't know if you've ever heard me say at the end of an episode to keep on climbing. I just want to reiterate, like, there's not like this. I'm not trying to take you to a spot where you actually get to the top of the mountain. I'm not sure what the top of the mountain is. I have a good idea of what it is for me. But if we're not enjoying the journey, the trek up the mountain, I think that's what I'm trying to help you do is enjoy the journey and to not be pulling your hair out. So I'm not trying to promise anything about like, hey, I'm going to get you to a spot in your business where you're going to get to the top and then you're just going to love life. Because I feel like as filmmakers, as storytellers, as entrepreneurs, I'm not sure we ever become satisfied because we're hungry for something more. We're hungry to create better. We're hungry to make more money so that we can give more, to have a bigger impact in the world. So I think we get glimpses along the way, and I do think that we hit peaks sometimes, but we definitely hit valleys sometimes. So anyway, I say that every week. That's kind of what I mean. It's hard work, and I'm with you. I'm for you. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week where I'm going to tackle a bunch of tough questions that you guys have actually submitted to me. So I'm going to be doing that next week, and hope to see you there. Till next time, keep on climbing, my fellow Sherpa. See ya.